back to another powerful episode of Healthy Mind, Healthy Life, the podcast where we dive deep into the connections between how we live and how we feel mentally, physically, and emotionally. So, uh, so let me ask you something, dear listeners. Like, have you ever wondered, like, if the health of our planet actually affects our mood, or like why spending time in nature feels like a reset button for your soul? So, what if I told you that the air you breathe, the products you use, and even the bags you carry are kind of directly tied to your inner peace and the long term well being? So, yeah, great to think, right? Do let me know what you think about. So, and today we are going to, going away beyond recycling tips and talking about the deeper synergy between the human body, the mind, and the Mother Earth herself. So, joining me is for me for this energizing and eye-opening conversation is a true eco warrior, Andy Keller, the CEO and founder of ChicoBag company. So welcome to the show, Andy.
Thank you for having me. It's great to be here.
Lovely, lovely. So Andy, like before we start, I'll quickly love to introduce you to all of our listeners. So, dear listeners, like Andy isn't just the guy who invented the first ChicoBag reusable bag back in 2004 after a trip to the landfill which left him shocked and inspired. Like he's a trailblazer on a mission to help humanity uh, bag the single use habit. So, like, uh, from leading awareness campaigns and appearing before governments to facing a major lawsuit from the plastic industry for speaking the truth. Andy's journey is nothing sort of legendary. So, the listeners, like, let's grab your reusable mug, take a walk outside if you want to, or if you can, then let's get into it. So, welcome to the show again.
Yes.
Lovely, lovely. So, Andy, like your story began with a simple trip to the landfill that turned into a lifelong mission. So, what did you feel in that moment that made you say, "I need to do something"?
My whole life, I was told, don't litter, recycle, and that's what you need to do. And I was at the landfill and I just saw what my small town threw out in a single day. I was there at the end of the day. It was just a giant pile of trash. And what really stood out to me were there were plastic bags everywhere. There are actually plastic bags inside of plastic bags thrown out. And the wind was whipping up these plastic bags and carrying them up into the sky and then blowing them actually out of the landfill into the adjacent ranch land where cows were grazing. And
Okay.
and I thought to myself, like, you know, those bags were properly disposed of. People,
Mhm.
put those in the trash can. They didn't litter. They brought to the landfill and they were still getting out, into the environment despite being properly disposed of. And
Yeah.
at that point in my life, like I never thought about it, what
Mm.
plastic bags were made out of, how long I used them, what happened to them at the end of their life. And it occurred to me, that it's not just a consumer problem, that it's not just you can do the right thing and these things
Mhm.
still persist in nature. And that started my journey. I was like, at that point, I was like, you know what? I got to do something about this. I was a plastic bag user up until that time. And,
Mhm.
at that time, the average American used about 500 plastic bags every year.
Yeah.
Enough if every American tied their plastic bags together in a chain, it would go around the earth 760 times just in
Mhm.
1 year. And, so I thought, well, gosh, I really need to have a reusable bag. And I thought, well, why didn't I ever use a reusable bag up until this point?
Mhm.
And I thought, well, they're bulky and they're kind of grungy and not really my style. And I thought, well, if I had a bag that I could just keep in my pocket,
Mhm.
I wouldn't need to remember it. I could always have it with me.
Yeah.
And whenever I needed a bag, I'd pull it out of my pocket. And I happened to be unemployed at the time. So I,
Okay.
I was on fire. I went and bought a sewing machine that day and, the rest is history.
Mhm. Lovely. So, like, do you think that most people today are disconnected from that kind of environmental awakening because uh, we are so used to convenience?
Yeah, I think we are really detached from the
Mhm.
reality of what's happening.
Mm,
We throw things away and they just kind of go away, but the reality is there is no away. Everything created, especially plastic,
mm,
is still on the earth. So you think about, the straw or the plastic bottle or the plastic bag that you use just for moments, it never goes away.
mhm.
Very few plastics are actually recycled.
Okay.
Even when you put them in the recycle bin, a
Mm,
lot of times there is not a market for them. In a lot of, places there isn't even the recycling infrastructure in
okay.
place. And then these things are, either burned or buried, which,
Mhm,
has a whole series of environmental impacts, that, pollute our land or water or air.
mm,
So coming back to our own personal health,
mm,
when anytime we're using single-use plastic, it has a profound impact on the planet and on our health because we're reliant on clean
mm,
air, clean water, clean soil, to thrive.
mhm, got it. So, like, okay, I mean, yeah, it's like we have normalized the problem to the point where it's invisible. But what you did, that uh, moment of seeing the issue and doing something, that's powerful. Yeah, that's great.
Yeah. So I think the important thing, is to make this unseen seen.
Yeah.
There's a lot that's hidden from us. You think about the waste stream. You think about even the production of products. A lot of that is hidden from us. We see something in a store, we have no idea how it's made. We throw it
Mm,
away. We have no idea what happens at the end of its life. And a lot of our focus is just on, what we buy, how we use it, and what bin we put it in
mm,
at the when we're done with it. But, there's a whole other world, and that's where most of the impact happens is, upstream in the manufacturing process, downstream in the waste stream. These are the things, especially when we think about food, and how our food is produced. The more that we can be in touch with these secret worlds that are kind of hidden from us currently, the more I think we're in line with how the world actually operates. And we could bring,
mm,
our consciousness, our being, how we operate more in
mm.
line
Yeah,
with the way that, nature normally works, which, is
mm,
in a circular pattern, not a linear pattern, right?
exactly. Yeah, exactly. So, and there's a growing evidence that spending time in nature reduces stress, anxiety, and even boosts the immune system or the function. So, in your opinion, how does our mental and the emotional health relate to the health of the environment that is around us?
I mean, for me, when I get out in nature, you
Uh-huh.
know, I I tend to get out of my head. We spend a lot of time, thinking about, the
Mm,
past or the future,
mm,
and really finding yourself in the present
mm,
moment is powerful and grounding. And I think being out in nature, it's a lot easier to
mm,
do that because a lot of times you don't have your phone, your phone's in your pocket,
mm,
hopefully, and you could just smell and see and use your five senses to really just take in what's around you. And I think that process is grounding and critical and I guess increasingly rare in the modern world.
mm.
So our bodies need this,
Correct.
and getting ourselves into an environment where we actually can do that and we could just kind of unplug from all the distractions and be present. That's the important thing. And if we do it in nature, it's pretty powerful because then
Mm,
we're just getting back to the basics of,
mm,
listening to our heartbeat, feeling our breath, especially if you're exercising, or doing
mhm,
something active outside. Hiking is a great way to,
mm,
to get into your body and out of your head.
mm. Understood. So, okay, and like you have literally stood toe to toe with the plastic industry and even been sued for speaking up. So that takes kind of serious courage. So what kept you going when the pressure got intense?
Yeah, I mean, just to give a little background, so I would dress
Mm.
up as what I called the bag monster. It was
Mm.
what the average American uses in plastic bags,
Okay.
in 1 year. And this is a common statistic. Depending
Mm.
wherever you live in the world, you probably look,
Mm.
like a bag monster if you put every plastic bag on you that you used in a year. If you haven't started to kick that habit yet. Um, and the plastic bag industry did not like what I was doing. And so they filed a lawsuit to basically to stop me from advocating. And yeah, and that's common, when people speak up, big companies that have, that make money, doing what you're advocating against, will use a lawsuit or the pressure or threat of a lawsuit to basically silence their critics. This happens all the time. So that's what happened to me. And, they said, one of the things they said that I was saying that was false is they said, oh, you're saying, there's a Great Pacific Garbage Patch. That was a common thing to talk about. The, the plastic in the ocean, it was described as a garbage patch. So I say, oh, there's a Great Pacific Garbage Patch. We got to use less single use plastic, use less plastic bags. Um, they said, well, there's no proof that there's actually plastic bags, out in the ocean. What you're saying is false and misleading. And so, I had a choice at that point. I could basically stop speaking up and make this lawsuit go away, or, I can fight for what I believed in was right. And, to try and figure things out, I actually joined a crew with an organization called Five Gyres and went out to the middle of the Pacific Ocean to look at the plastic in the ocean because I'd never been out there. I'm like, okay, you're saying this is false? I'm going to go see for myself. So I went out there, and what I found was not quite an island. It was more like a plastic soup where, you're out in the most vast wilderness in the world, right? 75% of the world is ocean. And to find any plastic out there is really, when you think about how vast the ocean is it's pretty, like, I guess, profound. So when you look at it, it looks like a soup. It doesn't actually seem, you know, like too. I guess how should I describe it? It's just the vastness of the space, and kind of underestimates the issue. But when we got so much plastic dispersed in the ocean, through the water column, down deep, across the surface, and all that plastic never goes away. Fish confuse it for food. They eat it. They have a lessened ability to reproduce, and what I found where I went to Easter Island, which is, off the coast of South America, and plastic bags were washing up, onto the beach there from one of these gyres, or one of these garbage patches. And, but the whole plastic bag wasn't intact. It was just the knot that people tie into, a lot of times people will tie the bag, and the knot was the only thing that survived and not washed up. And so seeing that, I was like, okay, there are plastic bags in the ocean. They are washing up. This is an issue. And that gave me the fortitude. I'm like, okay, so these guys are trying to shut me up. I've seen it for myself. I'm not going to shut up. And I fought. And the interesting thing that happened was, people started writing about this battle. They called it the Bag Wars. Rolling Stone magazine, the Wall Street Journal, other publications wrote about this, and it started the plastic bag companies that sued me. It started looking really bad for them because they're getting bad press as a result. And what happened is it backfired, and they tried to shut me up, and it actually gave me a platform and gave me a larger audience
Okay.
as a result of the lawsuit. So it completely backfired. And at the end, I ultimately won, and got
Mm,
them to put a warning label on their bags, to
okay.
tie these, a warning label about the right disposal of these bags in order to prevent
Mm,
these bags from becoming windblown litter, because they're so
yeah.
lightweight. A lot of times they get caught in trees, they blow around. And the simple act of tying a bag into a knot before you throw it away will prevent it from becoming windblown litter. And they agreed to that as the settlement, which is awesome.
Okay. Mm, amazing. That's amazing, really. So, um, so I mean, what would you say to people who want to take a stand but are afraid of the backlash? Like, they are too small to make a difference.
Well, I think everyone,
Mm-hmm.
can make a difference. All of us, our collective actions, even tiny little daily things that we do, all adds up to, to be something big when we all are doing it together. So
Yeah.
anything you can do, makes a difference. If you're afraid, I think one way to battle the
Mm-hmm.
fear, is to do it anyways. Take the
Yeah.
action and kind of lean into that fear, even though you're afraid. If you believe it's the right thing to do,
Mm-hmm.
do it, because that is, I guess, the definition of courage. When you're afraid, um, and you do it anyways, that's being courageous. So we need courageous people to take action, and ultimately there's power in numbers. So if you care about something, there's other people that care about it as well. And when I got sued by the plastic bag industry, there's other people that were watching, and and they knew journalists, at the Rolling Stone, magazine, and they got my story to them and helped get that published. So, if you can reach out to people that share your same vision for the future and care about the cause that you care about, and connect with them, people will rally around you. If you end up being, the target of that's a sign that you made it, actually.
Yeah.
If you stand up and you're making noise to the point that the opposition sees you and wants to stop you, that's a
Okay.
good sign. That means you're
Mm.
actually doing something that's making a difference.
Mm. Amazing. Yeah. And so let's talk something about it. Like, for those who are listening right now, whether they are individuals or working professionals or volunteers, so what are the 2 to 3 meaningful steps they can take today to leave the planet better than they found it?
Mm. I love that, because that's
Mhm.
kind of that's my mantra,
Yeah.
is to leave things better than I find them.
Mm.
Especially the planet. I think of it as a form of legacy, right?
Mm.
You know, your grandchildren, what are they going to say to you, when
Mm.
you're old? You
Yeah.
know, did you do enough? Or are they going to have the why didn't you do more?
Yeah.
Question. And well, yes, when I think about it from a legacy, because we all leave this earth with nothing. We can't bring anything with us, right?
Yeah.
And so the only thing we really can leave, the only thing that people can really, I guess, have of us is our legacy, is what people remember of us. And I think that's motivating, to do something good, to leave the place better than you found it, is a way of creating legacy, for yourself, and to leave the world a better place for the people that you love, your children, your
Yeah.
grandchildren, your family, and others,
Yeah.
humanity. It's anything we can do. You know, I, it's something that I think we all need to really focus on,
Mm.
because, we're on a route where we're going to leave the planet worse off
Mm.
than we found it, right? So how can we take small steps every day, yeah,
Yeah.
to leave it better than we found it. And we all could do that in some way, in some form, some in bigger ways, and if we organize
Mm,
and work with each other on something bigger than something we can do alone, then you're really creating a legacy.
yeah, exactly true. Hmm, that's amazing. And also, like, and do you think we need more of that, like more humor, art, and bold visuals to make sustainability fun and engaging instead of doom and gloom?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people are overwhelmed, with, I guess, the state of the economy, how am I, people feel insecure, and there is a hierarchy, right? So, the most important thing is you want to take care of yourself, you want to take care of your family, you want to provide for them, and I think a lot of, and that's the top priority for anybody.
Mm,
And after that need is met, then you can
mm,
start thinking about, well, how am I going to leave the place better than I found it, right?
mm,
And so it's really important, that we have a healthy economy, that
mm,
we have healthy societies, that we don't have war or conflict, that, we are working together,
mm.
to keep the underpinnings of our ecosystem,
Right.
that our economy and our livelihoods are dependent upon, intact,
Correct.
so that we can think about leaving a legacy.
Mm,
So we can think about how to make things better for the next generation, how to
mm,
keep the planet healthy. Because ultimately, we're kind of going down a road where the planet is becoming less and less healthy
mhm.
as humanity is becoming less and less healthy. And they're tied together, as so if we focus on the health of the planet, the health of humanity will improve.
Yeah.
And that also involves conflict. There's a lot of conflict in the world. And there ultimately doesn't need to be this conflict.
Mhm.
And so, there's a lot of social justice and and issues tied into, a healthy environment
Correct.
and to our own health.
True. Agree with this. Definitely. Lovely. Great, Andy. I mean, this is really, really an absolutely inspiring from your mission to the movement that you have sparked. And Devin, we have shown us that protecting the planet isn't just about saving polar bears or the trees. It's all about saving ourselves, our minds, our bodies, or the future. So, uh, great. And for those who are listening, the earth gives us so much oxygen, food, beauty, healing, the greeneries, and the list we can do is give something back. So, what's your next move? Maybe it's diffusing that plastic bag, or maybe it's organizing a cleanup. Maybe it's just choosing to do more aware. Whatever it is, do it with the intention. And because a healthy planet means a healthy mind and a healthy life. So, that's a great one. So, don't forget to follow us, share this episode with someone who needs to hear it, and start your own ripple of change today. So, thank you so much.